so precariously balanced right now, it is insane. Hello friends, welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing really, really well. I come to you with disheveled hair and a sweater straight out of 2013 with a new video that I'm really, really excited to put out. The last weekend in October, Merlin and I participated in our very first clinic ever. It took place at our farm. I've been talking about this in videos for weeks and I've been super excited about it. So I did it on both Merlin and Eve. It was a dressage test riding clinic. So it was with a licensed Equine Canada dressage judge. And basically the format of it was we picked a test, we rode it, talked about it with the judge, had a little bit like of a 15-20 minute riding lesson where the judge took us through some of the things that we could work on to improve the test. And then we rode the test again and then discussed it. And that was kind of it. And this is really, really helpful for me because I don't have that much experience doing test riding of any kind. I did it a little bit in Pony Club. I did one dressage show as a teenager on my pony who was not a dressage horse. And my camera battery's about to die. Hold that thought. Okay, so it turns out that all 5 of my camera batteries are dead and I don't feel like waiting for them to charge for me to finish this video. So we're just gonna go back to the crappy phone footage, which I apologize. I'm really trying to get better at actually using the nice camera that I bought myself to make YouTube videos, but sometimes phones are easier. So now I need to get my laptop so I have my notes. Anyways, what I had been saying was that I don't have that much dressage experience. So this kind of clinic is really beneficial for me because it really lets me get an insight into what dressage judges look for, but also just to get a sense of the little intricacies of riding a test that I don't necessarily think about. So first up was Eve. I rode her in the morning and we did a walk trot test. So we did intro level test 1. So something that's important to know is that here in Canada, we don't have our own set dressage tests. Like Equine Canada doesn't have their own, Equestrian Canada. We have the same dressage levels that they do in the States. So the walk trot level is called introductory level. And I've talked about this in a previous video, but basically the reason why I chose to do a walk trot test with Eve instead of doing some canter is that there's a couple reasons. Her canter is still not 100% there, particularly in the transitions. Also, after we canter, it's kind of hard to get her to stay relaxed, not because she's tense or nervous, but because after she canters, she's quite up and energized. And I really wanted to make sure that we were able to take full advantage of the clinic and get some really good feedback on our basics. So I chose to do walk trot because she's quite established there, but there are some places where I feel like there are gaps in her training, like with her halting and things like that. Just like I did the walk trot test with Merlin for his first Dressage Riders Online show, I decided that for Eve's first dressage test ever, it was only fair to ask her to do a walk trot test. So we'll go through the first test. I'll do a voiceover and then we'll join back together afterwards to go through the collective marks and the score. So this is our first effort at our test. We did introductory level test A, which is walk trot. So you enter at A, working trot rising, and then between X and C, you transition to a medium walk. The judge gave this a 6 and said started off the center line, which is true, and that there was some tension. Then at C, track right, the judge gave this a 6.5 and said that she could have been a bit more forward. At M, working trot rising, Eve got a 6.5. Oh, sorry, and this was included, C and M, that's one movement. At A, circle right 20 meters, working trot rising. So we do this here. The judge gave this a 6.5 and said low in front, which I 100% agree. She's ducking kind of below the vertical. I think what she was trying to do is she was trying to stretch because she is getting to a point where she loves doing her stretchy trot, but it ended up just being slightly behind the vertical. Then KXM, change rein, working trot rising, 6.5. Said nose more forward to start, which is so true, but as you can see in the second half of the diagonal, she comes up nicely. At C, circle left 20 meters. The judge gave this a 6 and said square circle, which I 100% agree, and as you can see, she's still going below the vertical in places, but I just can't get over how the quality of her trot has improved in the last few months. It's absolutely insane. The next part of the test was between C and H, transition to medium walk. Judge gave this a 7 and said active, which I quite agree with. She had quite a nice walk here. HXF is a free walk, and she got a 6, saying needs to stretch, which I 100% agree. I kind of played it safe because I had a feeling that if I pushed her too much that she would break into trot, but I do like the kind of swing that she has in her step. Between F and A, you're meant to go back to a medium walk. She got a 7 and says nice quality, which I agree with. I think she looks great. Down the center line, at A and then at X, halt and salute. So for her halt, she got a 7, and the judge said a nice finish. As you can see, she's kind of jiggy-jogging there a little bit. But I'm quite happy with her halt because it's something that she tends to struggle with. So yeah.
Nice finish.
So I was very happy with Eve after that first test, and I'm lucky enough that I have the test sheets here, and now we'll go through the collective score. So I'm still learning what collective marks means, but collective marks, I guess, are the kind of overall impression that the judge gets of the horse. So there's marks for gaits, impulsion, submission, rider position, rider effectiveness, and kind of geometry and accuracy, which for me is not great sometimes. For Eve's first test, for gaits, she got a 7. For impulsion, which is the desire to move forward with suppleness of the back and steady tempo, she got a 7. For submission, so acceptance of steady contact, attention, and confidence, she got a 6. For rider's position, keeping in balance with the horse, I got a 7, which I was happy with and appreciative of because I really get down on my riding sometimes. For rider's effectiveness of aids, correct bend and preparation of transitions, I got a 6.5. And then geometry and accuracy, I got a 6.5, which is fair. I also learned how to tally marks, which I had never learned before. And once I did that, I found out that for the first test, we got a 65.3%, which is still a very good mark. The judge said attractive horse, but needs to reach forward into connection, worth working on, which I 100% agree. And that's what we worked on in our little lesson. So then after we did our first test, we had kind of a 15-20 minute lesson where we worked on some of the things that we could to improve the test. So the first issue that we addressed was her going behind the vertical, and the judge just had me put a little bit, she spoke there, a little bit of leg on just to encourage her head up and also to kind of inch my hands forward while putting my leg on, and it worked really, really well. The quality of her trot improved crazy. Like there's so much swing there. I absolutely love it. If you compare to like videos of when I first started riding her, the difference in her trot is insane. And then we worked on the other element of the test that I think was the weakest point, which was the free walk. And as you can see here, I'm pushing for a little bit more swing, and it's really, really paying off. She's having some nice moments. She's not going to hold it 100% the whole time, but it's a good start, and it was a definite improvement from the first test. So then we went in and we started our second test. So on we go to the second effort of the test, and needless to say, this one went much better. So we come down the center line at working trot. Again, transition to medium walk between X and C for this movement. This is one movement together. She got a 6.5. Straight entry, tension after X, as you can see here. But it was much, much better. I think she got a 6 the first time. C, track right, and M, working trot rising. So that and the long side here are kind of two elements but in one movement, so they're graded together. She got a 7, and the judge said that she had a steady rhythm. For her circle at A, you can see she kind of comes above the vertical there. For her circle at A, she got a 7 with a comment of nice energy, which I agree with. I quite like the kind of swing in her trot and how floaty it is. I find it's hard to really get some thoroughbreds to have a floaty trot, but with enough work you can really improve the quality, and that's definitely showing here. KXM, change rein, working trot rising. Here she got a 7, and it said consistent, and I agree. She kind of sped up a little bit, but I quite liked the little bit of an extension that she gave, and she really rode into the contact nice, which felt great. Then a circle at C, 20 meters. She got a 6.5. A little bit low at times, but again, quality of, yeah, see there she goes low. Quality of the trot is much better than the first time because I was a little bit more confident to push. And I find with her, when you push is when you get that really beautiful, slightly more longer stride and a slightly floatier trot. So then we transitioned to a walk, and she got a 7 for this, nice quality. Then for her free walk across the diagonal, she improved hugely from a 6 to a 7. And it said, what does the comment say? Regular, which, or no, sorry, wrong one. Nice stretch, which I agree with. I think that this diagonal felt a lot better to me than the first one because I was slightly more confident that she wouldn't go into the trot. Here she jig-jogged a little bit, but that's okay. F to A medium walk and A down center line. She got a 7, it said regular. Something I should note is that the incredible friend who was filming slightly off center. So here I was on the center line, even if you can see the letter A. And then the final move of the test was to halt at X. And again, she got a 7 for a nice finish. And as you can see by my smile, I was very happy. So now into the collective marks for the second test, which I thought was much better. For gaits, we got a 7. For impulsion, we got a 7, which is, those two are the same as the first test. Submission, we got a 7, which is 1 full mark higher. For rider position, I got a 7 again. For rider effectiveness of aids, I got a 7, which is 0.5 of a mark higher. Same thing for geometry and accuracy, I got a 7, which is 0.5 higher. For a total score of 69.3%, which is basically a 4% increase from the first test. So I was really, really happy with that. And the judges' further remarks were, when she keeps the pole up, she has a lovely rhythm and quality. Good job. So yeah, I was really, really thrilled and super happy with Madame Eve. Super proud of her for her first clinic and first ever dressage test. So now we move on to Mr. Merlin, and I will definitely say he was the star of the day. I was so proud of him. So we did training level test 1. So it starts enter at A, working trot, at X, halt salute, and then proceed working trot. So for this movement, he got a 7 with the comment of straight entry with a nice halt. I'm so proud of how much his trot to halt transitions have improved since we did our Dressage Riders Online test. Then the second movement is C, track left, and at E, circle left 20 meters. And I was absolutely thrilled. Like, his trot, he's just so like floaty. He was like on another planet this day. Like, I can't even. So for this, he got an 8, which is actually double mark, so it was a value of 16. And the judge said, good rhythm. Like, look at him. How is this horse mine? Anyways, moving on. Then we moved on to the third movement, which is at A, circle left 20 meters, developing the left lead canter in the first quarter of the circle. For this, he got a 7.5, and the judge said that he had a nice jump, which I quite agree with. He is not 100% connected in the way that I'd like, but he's still developing that connection at the canter, so I'm not going to expect miracles. AFB, working canter, once again, he got a 7.5, fairly balanced, which I also agree with, came slightly above the vertical in the transition there. Between B and M, working trot, he got a 6.5 for that, a bit early to trot, which I definitely was. Between C and M, medium walk, he got a 7, active. 7, this was our nemesis. Between E and F, change rein, free walk. So for this, he got a 5, tense, not a free walk, which 100% I agree with. What I found interesting was that in Eve's walk trot test, she had to do a full diagonal of free walk, versus Merlin at training level only had to do like a half diagonal. So I found that interesting. And this was combined with medium walk at F for one movement. Then at A, working trot, which I think the transition was quite accurate, maybe a little late. This, he got a 5.5, came against the hand, 100%. At E, circle right 20 meters. And this is where we ran into an issue where he didn't want to move forward. So yeah, we circled right 20 meters. I put my leg on and he was just not 100% listening to me. And I got a bit worried because these were the issues, like this is what he was doing when his saddle wasn't fitting properly. But after the test, he had a poop, and then that made me realize, he was stalling because he had to poop. So, young horses. Sorry the recording stopped there, but anyways, the lovely judge was nice enough to let me pick up a stick, and not to use, just to hold, because he's so much more alert when I'm holding it. So we continued. So it's C, circle right 20 meters, developing the canter, the right lead in the canter in the first quarter of the circle. He got a 7 for this, and the judge said fairly balanced, but he did get some error marks because of my need to pause and pick up a whip. C and B, working canter. Again, he got a 7. And she made the interesting comment that he seems more balanced at the canter on a straight line, which now that I think about it, 100%. Between B and F, working trot, he got a 7 for a comment of smooth. And then an A down the center line at X halt salute, he got a 7 for a nice finish. So this, he's definitely showing his babiness here because, you know, he did get tired. And but I was still absolutely thrilled with him, like absolutely thrilled. So the collective marks for the first test, I've already gone through them. On the training level test, interestingly, there's only 5 collective marks rather than the 6 that there were on Eve's walk trot test. So for gaits, he got a 7 because she didn't see much walk. For impulsion, he got a 6.5, and she underlined desire to move forward, which 100%. Submission, he got a 6. For rider's position and seat, I got a 7. And correct and effective use of aids, I got a 6.5. And she said, started so well, and then he got distracted, much better once you had the whip. And he got a 66.9%, which is still very, very good. For in between Merlin's 2 tests, I don't have a huge amount of footage from it. She's saying how, like, when the first test started, she was thinking like, well, if the whole test goes like this, then what am I gonna say? Because he was going so well. And then he went kind of like, at the free walk, and baby brain took over, and they kind of went to shit, to be honest. She encouraged me to carry a whip on days where it feels like he might be a bit lethargic or lazy, especially as a baby, because he's more alert when I carry it, and it means that I'll need to use less leg so that he doesn't become dull to my aids. Especially important with him as a baby, because if he's dull to my aids at the age of 4, what's he going to be like at the age of 10? I haven't historically used a whip with him, and I never touch him with it. If I touch him with it, it's like a tickle on the shoulder because he's so responsive. Because of all the groundwork that we did before I started him under saddle, he is responsive to it. When I hold it, he like becomes a whole different horse. And I came to learn that aside from championships, you were allowed to carry whips in competition, both in eventing and in pure dressage. Who knew? Not me. Another thing she said that was really nice is that I have nice soft hands, which was really nice for me to hear because I always get down on myself about like my hands and whether they're not soft enough. A general tip that she gave me after the first test, which is something I didn't realize I did, when we halted and I saluted, that was a really enunciated T. When we halt and I saluted with the hand that was holding the whip, which she cautioned against because depending on the horse, if you salute and the whip tickles their side, they might spook, which I didn't even think about. And then she said a couple of things that just really made me smile and feel like crying and be really proud of my pony. As she said that the quality of gaits that I have with him is really quite exceptional, and those really quite exceptional, like exactly what she said. I'll never forget it. She said he's an 8 for paces horse, which is so lovely. It basically also means that I'm going to get a lot of free marks with him. That's great because it sometimes means that if I make a little mistake, it might not mean that we get such a low mark. Basically, she said that she thinks that he could be rather exceptional. That was incredibly wonderful to hear. So obviously I was thrilled with the judge's remarks, and we went on to our second effort of the test, and I was determined to do a better job. So we come down the long side, come down the diagonal, and despite what it looks like, I was on the center line, and he's really started to anticipate the trot to halt transitions, which means that he's gotten a lot better. Obviously not square, but you got to start somewhere. He got a 7 for this, straight entry with a nice halt. The second movement is tracking left at C and then doing a 20-meter circle at E. Again, for this, he got an 8, good rhythm. I personally find that the quality of his trot here isn't as good as this section of the first test, but I'm being really nitpicky because he's still launching me out of the saddle by being so floaty. The third movement is the canter, developing the lead in the first quarter of the circle. He did a really nice, what felt like a really nice canter transition. And for this, he got, for the circle, he got a 7.5, again with a nice jump. I really do love how his canter is developing. It's still a little bit out of control at times, but it's starting to feel better. For the long side AFB working canter, he got another 8, quite balanced. And then for his trot, downward transition to trot, he got a 7 for smooth. Between C and H medium walk, he got a 7 for a comment of active. He's walking quite forward here, so I was like, okay, we must do better at our medium walk. And we did. He got a 7, and the comment was active, so obviously, like, he's not stretching very much. He kind of hints that he's going to stretch, but he started to jig. So our free walk needs some work, clearly, but I was thrilled at the improvement from the first test. And that included in that was also the medium walk at F. At A, working trot, that transition was a little bit late in my eyes, but got a 7 for a comment of steady and nice rhythm. Then we did a circle right at E, 20 meters. We got a 7, and the comment was nice energy. I felt like this section of the test, while still not as good as the first section of the test, was a lot better than the first time around, because obviously he didn't need to poop. We didn't have any of those forward moving issues. Then it's C, our canter circle, which he got a 7.5 for a comment of fairly balanced. And he's like, oh my god, how is this horse mine, guys? I felt like my sitting, which is something I'm still working on, was a lot better in this, on this canter compared to the first canter. The CMB working canter, he got a 7.5, no comment. Between B and F down into working trot, he got a 7, said well ridden. And then his center line and halt salute, he got a 7, wide turn at A, which is very obvious, but a good halt. I think personally that this halt was better than his first one, much more square. And yeah, a really nice halt. One of his legs is slightly forward than the other, but I was still really happy. So now onto our collective marks for the second test. For gaits, he got an 8, which makes me smile. For impulsion, he got a 7, which is 0.5 of a mark higher than he got on the first test. For submission, he got a 7, which is a full point higher. Rider's position and seat, I got a 7 again. And then correct and effective use of aids, I got a 7, which is 0.5 higher than the first test. And she said, a lovely test for the level, lots of potential. And he got a 71.3%, which is his highest dressage score to date. This is a whole level higher than we did for our Dressage Riders Online show. I don't even know what to say. I'm just so incredibly proud of him, and I had a lot of fun doing this clinic. I found the format really beneficial, and if I have a chance to do this kind of clinic again, I definitely will. Oh my god. So I'm gonna film most of this at home on my camera because I'll be able to look through the tests and be more succinct and eloquent in my thoughts, but I just wanted to kind of do a super quick for me debrief on how the two ponies were. I rode Eve this morning. She was awesome, but the star of the day is definitely Merlin. I've been trying to film this for like an hour now, but every time I do, I get emotional because I've said a lot how I really can't believe that he's my horse, and like he's literally my dream horse, and I never thought I would be able to own a horse like him of his quality and caliber. This is the first time that he's really been looked at by someone outside of our farm, because I haven't really taken him properly off property to schooling shows or clinics or things like that. There were some baby moments, and he was a little spooky when I was doing my little warm-up because there were things that had changed. Lots of people there, people at the top of the arena where he's not used to, but once I had his focus, he was really, really good. She just said some really, really nice and lovely things about him that I tear up. Really, really proud of him, but also really, really proud of me because I've brought him along. When I was little, I doubted myself so much in my abilities with horses that it just feels really good. So that was our first clinic. I hope you enjoyed this video. To be honest, I don't want to say I don't really care if no one enjoys it, but basically just put this together as a training tool for me and a thing to be able to look back on to see how we've improved, but also just the process of making this has been really beneficial for me. I enjoyed making it, and I think that it's an interesting kind of different type of video than the kind that I normally make, but I hope that you find it interesting and beneficial. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, comment down below, and hit subscribe if you want to see more. And until next time, I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. Don't forget to give your horse or pony a hug or a kiss the next time you see them, and I will see you next time. Bye!